It's been a minute since I used that intro.
Yeah, really.
I was like, why not? Like, I was thinking, like, I just use one of my generic intros, but then I had that one still saved, and I was like, oh, we haven't used that one in forever.
Yeah, sure hasn't.
So we have a chance to use that podcast, and I still love that intro. So we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back. Anyway, thank you guys for being here tonight. It is myself and Omega Weltall. As you guys know, we did not have an after party today. Some stuff came up with Pagey, and he was unavailable to do the after party. And since the Ahsoka review did not go out as intended, I thought this was the perfect opportunity to do our review live with you guys. So if you guys have questions or whatever, make sure you drop them in the chat. If you want them 100% answered, make sure you hit the super chat and do that, and become a Team Airrick member. Why not? So I see you are repping the Chopper is a war criminal in your title there.
If you, like I said, if you've seen Rebels, you would know that Chopper has over 50,000 casualties to his name.
It's
like,
really
not
weird
even kidding,
because they're glossing over that on the live action show. He's just kind of a funny droid.
Yeah, it was just this quirky little droid. But no, the reason why he has over 50,000, because most of that is from the one episode where the Empire makes this it makes this ship that can just it makes a ship that can just snap ships out of hyperspace because it mimics a high gravity well. So it's the main snare ship and there's two support vessels. So they get snapped out of hyperspace, they get captured. Chopper basically rigs the snare to form basically to collapse in on itself. And so basically, Chopper just goes, "Oh, hey!" As they're trying to escape, he just goes, "Oh, watch this." He's like, "What are you talking about?" And basically forces all the ships to just collapse on itself and drags the other two support vessels onto itself.
So like a black hole collapsing.
Yeah, kind of like a black hole. So, and as they're trying to fly away, they almost die, but I guess the device is destroyed and they can just fly away. And because each one of those Star Destroyers has like almost 10,000 people on them or something like that. And when they all collapse, they all explode, of course. So basically, that right there gave him like almost 30,000 casualties to his name.
Wow. Things you miss when you don't watch all of the cartoons.
Yeah, Rebels is good. Check it out.
So I have to say, this is an interesting episode. We are literally halfway through the season. It's episode 4 of Ahsoka. We're going to be talking like pretty much full on. So spoilers are out the window. No non-spoiler stuff here. It's all spoilers. But this episode is like smack dab in the middle of the season. And I've heard some people complaining about a few things. We're going to talk about the Merrick stuff. We'll talk about the end of the episode, the cliffhanger, and things that were happening with some of the other characters. So this picks up where the ship is on the planet surface and they are trying to basically repair it so they can follow, Morgan or whatever they're going to do in this situation. And we have Huang there, who is, by the way, there's a scene in the episode where he has to fight an assassin droid. And for a second, I thought he was going to take the droid. It's like, he's going to take this assassin droid because he trains Jedi.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he has to be the ability to fight. Is there ever been anything like that where you've had him fighting? Do you remember? Is he from the cartoons?
He's from Rebels. He's mostly just been like a teacher, or if he did combat, it was mostly like just outsmarting the villain. From what I remember, I don't remember him like actually going toe to toe with anybody.
Okay, but he seemed to be able to hold his own. I think he probably could have done more if he had a weapon, but he was caught off guard when he was trying to repair the ship. Which, by the way, I thought it was interesting while they were inside the ship, when Sabine and Ahsoka were inside and he was getting attacked. Once the power went out, she was like, that's definitely not him making a mistake. Like, he doesn't make mistakes like that.
Yeah, he don't make mistakes like that.
So I thought that was pretty exciting that they figured all that out. What are your thoughts on Ahsoka now? We're 4 episodes in. What do you think of Rosario Dawson as this character? And we'll talk more about the really cool battle we had at the towards the end.
I think she was fine. It's how can I put this? The voice and the face doesn't really match what you see in the Clone Wars and in Rebels, but character-wise, that's Ahsoka. It's she kind of gets her attitude and her mannerisms down, but still like the voice and the face still kind of throws it off. But I'm not complaining. She's still. I think
amazing. She was a fan casting, wasn't she? Wasn't she fan casted before?
I believe so. Yeah.
Because I remember
seeing something like that
before she was ever in The Mandalorian. I remember seeing like fan art of her as Ahsoka, and a lot of people wanted her to play the role. But I can't remember how far before the show, or I guess before she was announced to be in The Mandalorian, when I started seeing that. So maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe it's a Mandela effect or something along those lines. But I think she's pretty good. A lot of people have said that she's too static in the character, but I think it's because she's playing an older version.
Yeah, she's an older version more. She went through some stuff, and now she's kind of like, calmed down from the brash young Padawan as she was in the Clone Wars. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Robert? So Bombast says, I thought Wang was in Clone Wars. I don't remember him being in Rebels. I don't know. I didn't watch a lot of those.
You're right. I'm getting him so confused because he is absolutely right. He was in Clone Wars and not Rebels.
Okay, well, there we go. So I think this episode was interesting because it was pretty much an action-packed episode. There wasn't a lot of downtime in it, and I think that was because we needed to get the ball rolling on what was going to happen with them leaving and heading towards Thrawn, which was a pretty big deal. And there's been a lot of reception towards the Thrawn storyline on it being like unrefined in Ahsoka versus what like people that watched all of the other stuff know, like somebody like a newbie coming in. But I am a newbie. I didn't watch all of that other stuff. And I think it's absolutely fine for me. I don't really have an issue with not necessarily knowing all the details behind that character. I think they're doing a pretty good job of sort of making all of it work for newcomers into Ahsoka. And actually, if anything, I do believe people I've talked to that didn't know anything about those older cartoons are going back and watching some of them now to sort of
definitely try to see exactly what's going on. Because like I said, like I've been doing, a lot of people say, oh, this is basically the 5th season of Rebels, and people like, what's Rebels? Because even it wasn't until I think The Mandalorian was first coming out, someone in chat was mentioning, it was basically telling me to go ahead and watch Rebel. Because I'm thinking when it first came out, oh, this is just a Disney XD show, whatever, it's a kid show. Until I finally watched it years later, it's like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, see, Ragu, that's the thing I'm seeing is the word miscast for her, and I don't necessarily believe in that. So,
I mean, I get it. I disagree respectfully, but
Well, see, Feather says that Rosario Dawson was miscast as Ahsoka because even if she's older, that's not an excuse. And
I kind of get that.
Yeah. So then, but I will say, I think Sabine is absolutely perfect as far as I can tell.
Yeah, she's pretty much unchanged from Rebels. She's a Mandalorian, so
let's talk about that. So the first big action piece we get is when we have Merrick and Shin coming after, Ahsoka and Sabine. And we get a fight scene in the forest between these characters. And we have Ahsoka facing off against Merrick, and we have Sabine having a revenge battle with Shin after what happened to her. And we get to see a few of her Mandalorian moves, I guess, versus Shin. When you were watching that, did you think there was any chance she was going to beat her after, with this rematch that they were getting? Or
in a straight up saber fight, no. Because like going back to Rebels, when she was training with Ezra with the Darksaber, when he was trying to use his lightsaber, she had the Darksaber. Well, no, I had it backwards. She was trying to learn how to use the Darksaber, and of course, Ezra was helping her. She couldn't. First of all, it's the Darksaber, and that's what it kind of had the whole thing where it's heavy, it's weighty. You have to move with it. That they end up expanding on with the Mandalorian, and even Kanan Jarrus basically took her aside and said, "Look, you're a Mandalorian. Fight like one." So that's what she was using, all the tricks and the gadgets that Mandalorians has against them. So the straight up saber fight, no, it wasn't until she actually started using her Mandalorian training and her tricks. And
we have seen that well-trained Mandalorians can hold their own against Jedi. It just has to be under certain circumstances. But we have seen it happen.
Flamethrowers, force push a flame.
Yeah. And then we have the Merrick battle. Now, Merrick has been a character of mystery. And this is a character that everybody has tried to figure out who they are.
I thought it was Starkiller. I was wrong.
Some people thought it was Ezra Bridger. But now it looks like, based on the battle, and we'll talk about the battle in a second, but I guess R.I.P. the dream for Merrick, because a lot of people now are saying that he was just a dead Inquisitor that had been resurrected by Dathomir dark magic. And is that what you're
he's a night he's a Night Sister zombie or ghoul or whatever you want to undead. Yeah, he's basically a Force undead.
So how does that work? Can you explain that for people that may not know? Is it like a zombified?
Again, this is mostly within the Clone Wars. I want to say mid-season, season 5 or 6 or so, when they expand upon Darth Maul's storyline, but also in Fallen Order, especially in Fallen Order, where you go to Dathomir, you have to fight all the Dathomirian Zobrax and whatever, I can't remember the name, and the one Night Sister there that you find.
Okay.
Yeah, basically it's especially in Clone Wars where they're trying to escape and then had all these basically zombies pop out of the ground and pop out of these pods or whatever.
So it's like Walking Dead in space, basically.
Yeah, it was basically Star Wars Walking Dead. And these were the fast zombies. They were just running.
Now, we see that Merrick retains all of the abilities of a Jedi. Is that common when a Night Sister resurrects them, where they can use all of their abilities, or are they basically powered by the witch? At least I got the impression that Merrick had all the powers. Because
it could go either way, I suppose. I honestly have no idea.
So they've never resurrected a Jedi before or a Sith?
No, if they have, I haven't seen that episode. Not that I can remember.
Right. Well, it seems like that, he was putting up a good fight against Ahsoka in the woods or whatever, but clearly she was the more skilled fighter.
Yeah.
But
you forget Ahsoka would have been a Jedi Knight if she hadn't walked away.
Now, what did you think about the spinning, like Darth Maulish?
I said before, I hate those Inquisitors lightsabers, the stupid blenders. I hate them so much.
It was really weird because when I saw him like going towards her with that, I was like, okay, what is she gonna do? And then we get like that whole samurai thing, like the slash through, and the shots,
the dust just sprays out, like those old samurai movies, how the blood just sprays out at like 200 psi.
I totally got that from that scene.
Also, one thing I noticed from that fight, the Force zombie guy, he does something that's pretty much frowned upon from both Sith and Jedi. We know when you turn your lightsaber off, and that's where she kind of falls over, but she recovers and she recovers, then they do the passing or whatever.
You mean like it's disarmed?
I forget what it's called. It's like Makashi, not Makashi. It's like Markov or something. Someone in the chat can correct me on this. I can't remember. But it's a technique where you turn off your saber and then you turn it back on at the last second. No, that's both sides completely say that's cowardly.
Yeah, because then you're going through what would have been a block and just immediately like severing or hurting or killing your opponent. I never thought about that.
I did. I was until I was looking through TikTok today and someone pointed that out. And I was like, shoot, I gotta remember that.
I actually saw, when it happened, but I didn't realize it was something considered a no-no or whatever.
Sith and Jedi like say that's
so. Robert here, a Team Airrick member, says the way that Merrick fought and relied on his saber seemed like an Inquisitor for sure. Yeah,
he's probably just a resurrected Inquisitor.
Which I think is quite interesting because they got rid of him quick. Well, you know what? I actually heard that there's a possibility that he wouldn't have survived anyway because when the Night Sister leaves, he would have been too far away to stay resurrected.
Probably. Yeah.
Is that accurate for the zombification?
I don't know. I'm not too sure on that because I just from what I've heard, I didn't know. Well, because they've always been within close proximity to each other when you do that. So
I mean, it's basically like Star Wars necromancy is basically what it is. So Crazy Cat Lady coming in with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Crazy Cat Lady. I love a mega heartless toy. Oh, your heartless toy in the background.
Had that for years.
I have one. I love the show. It looks great. So Anakin, a Force ghost for a separate time. We're gonna get to that.
Yeah, we're getting to that.
Several times when he has a robot hand. We will get to that. So please stick around. But thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Anakin, yes. I mean, there was rumors that he was going to show up on the series. I didn't know how.
Yeah, because I think it was like he was on set or something that filmed some things.
Yeah.
But people just didn't know what.
We can go ahead and jump to the next fight then, the next interesting fight, and then we'll come back to the stuff with Sabine, because it will work that way. So Ahsoka defeats Merrick, and Sabine's like, go, I got this, where she's going to fight Shin. We'll get back to that fight in a second. But then Ahsoka runs to where they're, getting the coordinates from the orby round Rubik's, sphere thing.
The box, you opened it, we came. Wrong movie.
Morgan's like, I just need this to happen. They're doing all of that. And Baylan's like, go ahead. I'll stay and defend, or she tells him to stay and defend. And so he's going to. And so then Ahsoka shows up, and we get this cool shot. Like, it's really interesting, that panning shot of where the orb was kind of projected out around the ruins there. Baylan's fight, not only do I think he's one of the most interesting, like,
yes,
gray Jedi, fallen Jedi that we've ever seen, but he fought old school, which is something I didn't expect.
He was more of a Jedi than Ahsoka was.
Yeah, I mean, when he pulled his saber out and he's holding it like this, I'm like, he's old school as fuck, because that's like original.
I think that was like Qui-Gon Jinn stance.
Yeah. So the way he was fighting like that, but then he also was very agile, which I thought was quite interesting, because typically when you see people fight in that stance, at least from my history with Star Wars, they do a lot of like traditional sword fighting, but you don't see like the parkour stuff that you see in the more modern fights or whatever.
Yeah, because I think later on a lot of that training kind of gone out, and besides, especially in A New Hope, he's an old man, so so is Vader. So they're not going to be flipping and dipping all over the place like they were when they were younger, especially when they were not their heyday, but a bit more when they were, as they are, currently. So
I would honestly say the entire fight between him and Ahsoka is a top 5 Star Wars fight for me.
Absolutely.
I thought it was that good. I thought it was just well executed. Seeing her do the flip and then jumping off of the structure, and the way they use
that's what Ahsoka does.
So that was like real. That was like going back to her roots as a fighter.
Yeah, she always, because there's a funny copy pasta, which I'm not repeating, where it's like she constantly did acrobatics. So I'm not going to go through the rest. If you know. That's all I'm saying.
So Robert says, I'd argue his stance is also because of the length of his saber, as well as being a High Republic Jedi. I didn't think about that, but you might be right. Again,
he did have a much longer saber.
I'm a casual fan, so hearing this makes sense to me, but I didn't think
it wasn't like the cross guard or anything, but he did have a much longer blade.
Yeah.
Especially when he went like
Star Wars Ahsoka being a variant of MCU Gamora. That would be some shit for sure. So isn't magic and time travel breaks the lore? So I always thought of magic in Star Wars as just an extension of the Force.
Yeah. I'm with them on the whole time travel thing. It's just once you get into time travel, you have to do it right, or else it just gets weird.
Yeah. So this is interesting. Fetman goes, felt like Baylan was using a claymore rather than a sword in that fight. So yeah, like a two-handed weapon for sure in the way he was fighting. But I love the way he fights, and this is why I love that character so much. He's obviously an older man, but he's also an older Jedi, and he's been through some shit. And he doesn't come across as just your typical villain to me, which I think is interesting. He feels like there's something more.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's a villain. He's definitely an antagonist, but not a villain or evil or anything. Because even when I'm sure we're going to get to it later, but even when he knocks Ahsoka off the ledge, and then Ren comes back, and he mediates, he parlays with her first,
right? And
then when that wasn't working, then he pulls out his saber.
Yeah,
because even when he kind of just overpowers her and all that, he was like, "Okay, give me the orb. We'll get your Ezra back. You have my word." And then when Shin comes up, she's like in force chokes. So I'm thinking like, wait, is he force choking her? He's like, no, that was Shin that did that. Right. And he was like, no, stop. I gave her my word. I'm like, that is not it. That's not a Sith. Evil. That's not a Sith. Yeah.
Mm-mm. So before we talk about that, let's talk about the rest of the battle with Sabine and Shin before she comes back. So Sabine is trying to use her Mandalorian tricks against Shin. Shin is clearly a well-trained Padawan, or whatever you want to call her in this regard. What do they call like dark? Is it still Padawan for like dark Jedi, fallen Jedi, or whatever?
Apprentice?
I guess. Yeah.
I guess it's just apprentice.
I also like Shin. Shin is a very different character.
Cool.
Because not only does she look really cool, but I think that she's got she's interesting. And so I want to know more about her as a character. And so, you know, that battle goes on, and then I don't remember. I think we see Hera and the fleet like deciding to go in during the middle of that fight. I think that's when they decide they're gonna just head out because they can't get the support from the Senate, so they're just gonna go out and you know, take who they can. And of course, we have Chopper in there, and I'm surprised that Jason went along with her because I mean,
really.
I mean, what's the story behind that character? Is there any history behind him at all?
I'm not that I think he's just from just a guy we saw from The Mandalorian, and he just kind of shows up as, hey, remember this guy?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't know if there was anything more about
Nope,
it.
not from what I gather.
So anyway, they're heading there to stop them, and this is when we get the whole Shin like trying to force choke Sabine there or whatever. Or
yeah, that's what Skoll's like, no, stop.
Yeah.
I gave her my word.
Ahsoka's been knocked off. We're assuming at this point
I assumed she's dead, but
I didn't. Obviously not. It's the fourth episode. Yeah. But Sabine is there, and Sabine is more like him than Ahsoka is, I guess. And you know, that's how he kind of talks to her. You know, oddly enough, you mentioned that. I believed Baylan, everything that he was saying, and he also doesn't seem to have the same incentive as Morgan does for, you know, starting over with Thrawn. I got the impression that he wants something else. There's some other reason why he wants this to work out, like a greater good, I guess you could say.
Yeah, because I guess his okay, here's my little theory that I got going on in my head. Maybe he saw that the Empire actually did bring peace to the galaxy. It was a bit overbearing, but things were stable. Now that the New Republic is coming back, things have gone into chaos. There's Imperial remnants popping up here and there, and it's kind of falling into the First Order that we see in the sequel movies. So he's trying to see that he's thinking that, okay, we bring back Thrawn. The Imperial remnants rally behind him. The Empire takes over again. We get stability back, and maybe bring up a new Jedi order that's not going to repeat the follies of the previous one. That's just my theory. I have no idea.
It's funny you mentioned that because that's exactly what I was thinking. It's very clear to me that Baylan, at least in this instance, is not happy with the new hierarchy of power. Like he doesn't like he's not happy with that. He's not happy with the First Order or any of this stuff. He wants a council similar to what his old school beliefs are. So I think he's doing this with the impression that Morgan is not the one calling the shots. I think he believes he can make some moves here that will benefit him and his beliefs in the Jedi as a whole, which I think is quite interesting, which is why I really like him being included. And I can't wait to see like where that character goes from here. And so at this point, I believe they have the jump coordinates, and this is when Morgan's ready to go. And they show up with the team that's going to assist them with Chopper on board. And in order to jump, they have to get them out of the way.
Yeah.
She's like, just do it. like, I don't care. Go ahead. And is this how jump technology works in Star Wars? It push ships out of the way like that? Because I know if you were in like another world, it would probably like destroy the ships, but in this case,
they did there's the whole holdover maneuver, which was in The Last Jedi, which I thought it was a cool shot and a cool effect, but it completely and totally breaks the previous lore, because if there's something in the way of your path, the computer simply will not go through. I guess maybe she did something to override it, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's nothing really like, from what I can remember, like really either preventing or allowing that. So I guess
Darth says that I remember when Jason Solo tried to be a gray Jedi, it did not turn out very well.
Jason Solo. Yeah, that's one of the Legends comics.
So then we have a situation where Wang is like radioing them, and there's nothing, not hearing from anybody. And everything's kind of in disarray. We don't know what's going to happen. It's a really interesting ending. But then we find out that Ahsoka did not, surprise, didn't die from falling off the side of that cliff. And that she is in some, and tell me what your theory is on this, because I have a couple things over here.
The nexus of the Force.
Yeah. So there's people saying that that's not possible for her to be there based on the lore. Is this true or not for her to be able to exist there, and shockingly for Anakin to be there as well, because we see Anakin is there as well, and he calls her Snips, which I thought was kind of cool.
So I do remember there was several comics. I mean, more recent, like even the Disney canon comics, especially with I think it was some of the Dr. Aphra book comics that came out. But I do remember hearing something where Anakin was kind of just in meditation, and he goes into the Force and kind of sees what ifs here and there. That's where you see like the redeemed Darth Vader, or the Darth Vader that or the Anakin that never turned, or things like that. And he kind of like sees himself in different timelines, and he sees Luke. And even when he's in that kind of Force projection, the rest of his body has like this red and black aura to it, but his hands and legs are blue and white, kind of like it's basically his missing limbs are kind of reformed or something like that. Right. So it's not unheard of. It's been go ahead.
So not a Force ghost, right?
Yeah.
Basically, is what you're saying. It's not a traditional Force ghost.
No, this is something different.
Okay. Do you think that the people behind the production of the show are going to explain what's going on in the next episode, or are they going to leave it up to us? Because a lot of people are upset about this. Not upset in the sense that it's like awful, but like confused on what it is exactly they're looking at. Because apparently the history of all of that is really laid out in front of us, in terms of like how it functions in Star Wars. And Robert says that's the same place Ahsoka has been before and was saved by Ezra from Vader, right?
Yep.
So this is something that has happened previously.
Yep.
Is what we're seeing. Now, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, this was one episode where Darth Maul shows up, and he's basically stringing Ezra along, trying to make him his new apprentice. But basically near the end of the episode, spoilers, they meet Darth Vader comes back, and that's when Ahsoka's like, that's when she realized this was Anakin. And but before any of that happens, I kind of get ahead of myself. Vader kind of gets hold on. Here's what happens. They was trying to get a lot happened in that episode. Vader, they're all of them are trying to get to this Force dark side holocron, the Sith holocron. So they all eventually get to it. Maul and Jaden get into a fight. Maul blinds Jaden, and they kind of fall off, do their own thing somewhere else. Ezra's still trying to get the holocron, but then Vader shows up, and he's like, "I'll never get this to you. I'm not afraid of you." Then Vader kind of looks at him and says, "Oh, then you'll die braver than most." And then when Vader's beating his ass, that's when Ahsoka kind of comes out of that little Force temple Nexus thingy and basically rescues him. I'm skipping over a lot of things here, but you just gotta watch the episode. But just kind of give you the too long didn't read.
The world between worlds is kind of the Nexus home for
That's
Force.
what it is.
Ahsoka is in limbo between Anakin and says, "I wasn't expecting to see you so soon." So that's. I don't know how the fandom is gonna feel about it in general here, but I did see over here. I was looking at my notes, and one of the things I wrote down is that, from what I read, that Baylan is like the Sith Juggernaut class of the Old Republic MMORPG, which someone was mentioning that on Reddit, that there's a tank class in the Old Republic.
Yeah, I never played that.
Okay. And if anybody in the chat,
I hear the storyline is freaking amazing. It's just you got to get through the gameplay, which is not. It's an old MMO. So
they were just saying that the stance that he has was very similar to that. And that someone said that the episode fight scenes were inspired directly from the Akira Kurosawa samurai battles. Which,
again, I was on TikTok, and there's a lot of similarities between the duels and the standoffs, where they kind of like stand there and then go past each other, and then one person falls.
I know that this show is very
it's basically Star Wars was the New Hope pretty much was what was that movie called? Not the Ronin, but the I think it was the Seven Samurai. I do not remember.
Talking about the original film was based.
Yeah, the original.
Yeah. The crazy thing about it is that I believe there's been some talk of the fact that episode 2 of this season was the most Star Wars like of any of the Star Wars shows that we've had, and that episode 4 gives us the combat that's the most like traditional Star Wars that we've had in any of the properties, so far. And it makes me wonder, like, I think I'm going to go back and watch the Obi-Wan series. I wasn't very happy with that when I watched it.
I like some parts of it. It wasn't all terrible.
It makes me want to go back and watch that. Maybe I'll do it after Ahsoka, just to sort of go back and see. But I feel very happy about the way the fight choreography and stunt choreography is being done on the show, because it doesn't look like everyone is doing the same thing. For example, when Merrick is fighting Ahsoka in the jungle or the woods or whatever, they're not fighting the same. Same thing with Sabine and Shin. Obviously with Baylan and Ahsoka. Everyone has their own identity and style of fighting. And that's something that I think a lot of the more modern Star Trek stuff has gotten away from. It feels like everybody does sort of the same style. And I miss the older ones. Even in the prequels, you got it. There was different format. Like Dooku didn't fight like anybody else.
Because he was a straight up fencer, and everyone else was more like a kind of kendo or Japanese style katana fighting. And he was more just kind of fencing type.
Look, the difference a comment makes. Obi-Wan is
Obi-Wan's underrated.
And then
it was nigga.
One series wasn't good. I love it. I love just the different. Look, that's why I like doing this stuff, to hear people's different opinions about everything. Dino goes, exactly, Eric. Those lightsaber battles in episode 4 felt like the perfect blend of OT and prequel lightsaber techniques, which is the sequel trilogy should have been. I agree.
Oh God. The sequel series pissed me off so much. I didn't even bother with the Rise of Palpatine. Because I'm sorry, Rey Skywalker, you're a Palpatine. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
I'm going to say this. Those 3 films are so uneven. It's so uneven, even with the movies themselves. So
they had no plan. They didn't know what the hell they were doing.
I think once they switched from JJ and with the Ryan and JJ stuff, it kind of threw everything into a blender at that point. Look, at the very least, if you have one director in charge of a full trilogy and that's your plan to do it, they'll be able to complete that vision from start to finish. And it wasn't like the first movie was awful.
It wasn't bad. It was just like A New Hope all over again.
Right. Did it feel like, yes. But
it was like the first of a trilogy. Yeah. So it was like, okay, let's see where this goes. Oh, it went to shit.
Yeah. So I think that there's some issues to be had there, because look, we go into that era of movies. My favorite Star Wars property during that bubble of films was Rogue One.
Rogue One was amazing. It felt like it was made in the 70s.
Yeah. Yep. You could literally watch Rogue One in where it's supposed to be within the film, the original.
Yeah, you can watch it chronologically and from between Rogue One was before New Hope.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can watch that and then watch the only thing that would really be different is like maybe the film quality.
Right, because A New Hope was filmed on actual film. And
that's of course gonna be different, but like the sets, the basically the feel of the movie, the props and everything else felt like it came straight out of it.
Whereas as much as I love Solo doesn't feel like a good progression from.
I honestly didn't catch Solo. So. I heard it was so I didn't bother to see it.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not.
That's what I'm hearing. It's fine.
Yeah. I would love to have seen where they would go with that, but I feel like there was a mistake in changing everything up on that. And look here, Cameron says J.J. Abrams wasn't supposed to come back to the Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, I believe it.
Because from what I'm hearing, Rise of Skywalker seems like it was like 3 movies crammed into one.
Yeah, it was a lot of issues with that. But we're not here to talk about it. We should do a stream about that. Maybe after Ahsoka's over with, we'll do like a full-on stream about the sequel movies. We might have to do separate ones because each movie's got so much in it. Okay, so Cody here says I think episode 7 and 8 are like one movie practically because there's more direct than 8 and 9. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I had the same. I guess hate.
I have the same feeling. Yeah,
Omega is worth a watch as a fan. All right,
I suppose.
So overall, I have to say I am absolutely enjoying Ahsoka. I know it's not perfect. It's not. There are some issues here and there, but I love Baylan. I love what's going on with Morgan. I want to see more about the Night Sisters and what the plan is.
Yeah, Night Sisters are interesting.
I can't wait to see this new galaxy because I'm guessing we're going to see some stuff we haven't seen.
No, I hope not.
I have a theory. We'll talk about this in a second. Let me finish my final thoughts.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I really enjoy it. I understand the criticism of Ahsoka, but as somebody who didn't really watch all that stuff, I think she's doing pretty good. But I'm a normie, I'm a casual, so maybe my opinion doesn't really matter there. But I would give this episode probably like a 8.5-ish out of 10, 8.59 out of 10. There wasn't a lot that I didn't like. And I'm still waiting for that episode where I'm like, it's perfect, 100% perfect. And I think we might have one this season. There may be one that I feel that way for me personally. We'll have to see. If you're scoring this 1 to 10, what would you give this episode of the
9, solid 9. I was mad when it was over.
Okay.
It's like, I wanted more.
All right. So we're going to do one last topic before we go. And then if you guys have any super chats you want to drop for us to talk about, feel free to do so. But the last bit I want to speak about is what I think they might be doing with Ahsoka. I know there's talks of like multiversal time travel stuff or whatever. I don't think that's necessarily the end game for them. What I think we may be seeing in the new galaxy is them actually setting up a new franchise of movies with brand new races, brand new planets, brand new hierarchy. I think they're tired of people complaining about messing up stuff in the main canon, and they want to go to another universe so they have pretty much free reign on what they want to do.
Yeah, I'm not surprised Disney's doing that because especially with the current series, there's so much history behind it, and being that there was so long between basically episode 9 and episodes not episode 9, so long between episode 6 and episode 7. There's so much stuff, there's so many different comics made by different companies and different creators here and there. They probably wanted to make their own thing, but there's so much history behind it that if they do anything within that universe, people are either going to say especially a lot of the fanboys, the Legends fanboys, are going to be like, nope, I'm rejecting this and keeping what we already had for decades.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking they're probably going to be
they could be setting up Rian Johnson's trilogy in the new galaxy, maybe. What do you think? Let me ask you a question. Do you want to see PB&J here says, I believe Dave said it's not time travel. Would you want to see time travel in Star Wars? Like at the level we see another sci-fi?
No. If it is time travel, probably either something like they go back in time, like maybe a few seconds, like what they did in Rebels, to try to, where she comes to the rescue, maybe something like that. But they kind of go all the way back and then try to fix things, and then it gets way too messy after that.
I feel like time travel, if they used it and they changed anything in canon so they could just start making different movies, the fans would probably reject that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
unless they go back and change episode 7, 8, 9. I mean, I wouldn't mind that. But they were trash. You know what?
Maybe that's on the table. Maybe that's on the
table. Probably, because it's just that they had. We'll never get this again. They had Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford right there, and they never got together again for the last time ever. Yeah. I will never forgive Disney for that shit.
Yeah, all three of them split apart.
Mm-hmm.
At least in Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, they brought all the Jurassic Park people back together. At least they did that. I mean, even if the movie sucked, at least they did that.
I would never forgive them for that.
Look, Darth Zen says, I mean, no way in hell I want a Flashpoint kind of Star Wars movie. That would probably fucking suck, to be completely honest, if they did something like that. I believe that what they're trying to do is open up the door for a new galaxy where they can kind of create a brand new lore and backstory and all that. Because I honestly believe that they want to break away from all the confinements of old canon. And I think this might do it, because then they could actually introduce like the ideals of Baylan into this new galaxy and have, we could arrive there and Thrawn could already have like a military presence.
Yeah, just ready to go. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
Or they may do something like us. If they're going to a whole nother galaxy, because it's kind of like if you're traveling through, especially going through like deep space, if you're going through space, you're also going through time, being that it takes so long to get, even it takes millions of years for light to go, billions of years if you're going from one galaxy to another.
Space geek here.
Yeah, if you're going from one galaxy to another.
Space and time are intrinsically connected, always and forever.
So that's probably why they're bringing the whole time travel thing in. So it's like, yeah, you're going to a whole nother galaxy, but are you going to be there 500 years from now, or are you going like basically going there within 5 minutes or
right?
something?
Because traveling in hyperspace doesn't mean immediate. It's not like teleporting. Like you have to travel, so it's faster, but it's still a distance they have to go. And so
yeah, that's probably why they're bringing some light time travel in. If they do like light time travel, yeah, sure, but they do like like the whole Back to the Future type shit, and then no, that's gonna be weird.
Yeah. I'm wondering now though, what would be the time for them to jump from one galaxy to the next? That's probably too hard to even.
I think with hyperspace, it takes them like maybe a couple minutes to go from one star to the other. It'd probably go from one side of the galaxy to the other. I think it's like a couple hours going through hyperspace lanes, because it's not like you're just jumping from one end of the galaxy. No, you're actually going through lanes that are in between the stars and stuff. So that's why they actually had to retcon the whole. I did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. It's more like because that area, they basically made it so that area of space has so many black holes and other anomaly going through there. You have to set different routes and you have to go around them. So if he made it through within 12 parsecs, he found the shortest route to do that thing.
Right.
Do that whole.
It's funny they found a way to make that work after.
Yeah, they found it. Yeah, because by the time they said parsecs is a unit measuring space, so we'll just use that. Whatever, who cares?
Yeah. So Darth Zen. Well, we're going to wrap this up here in a second. But says, right. I mean, all they really have to do is introduce a new planet with new aliens. Having to go all the way to another galaxy would do something like the Vong of the old timeline, or just no Jedi. Okay, so yes, but I think what they want to do is they want to throw away as many ties to the galaxy as possible, so that they can come up with a brand new everything. Like that galaxy may not even have technology like the technology that we have seen in Star Wars. It could be like Star Trek over there. It could be like Battlestar Galactica over there. It could be like Stargate over there. It could be any of these other like sci-fi things, or it could be magical. They could have like the Force might not even be the biggest thing. You might go over there and they have something completely different that functions, that allows them to fight Jedi in ways we've never seen before. So all of that is something that we haven't really seen in the galaxy we're in, because it's so intrinsically connected to what Star Wars is. I'm excited to see what they're going to do, but I also realize it could actually end up being, it could be bad for Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what they're going to do, but I'm also just a little what's the word I'm looking for? I have a bit of trepidation about this, but who knows? It might be good. It might be shit.
Do you think
maybe sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit?
Do you think we're going to see this next week, or do you think we're going to have to wait until the end of the season, like the last couple episodes?
They'll probably tease it at the end of this week's episode and then go on to it then with like,
because I believe this week's episode is going to be in Hyperdrive.
It's going to be, and I think this week's episode is probably going to be within the world between worlds.
Part of it, but I think we're also going to see the other cast in the ship probably. What was the name? What was the name of the ship that Morgan has? Do you remember the name? Has it got a name?
God. If it had a name, I sure don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but very cool ship. Is there, you love ships. Has there ever been a ship like that in Star Wars? Like,
I'm sure there was something like that in within your Legends comics. I didn't really read up on much on those, but there was the Star Killer ship, which was yes, the same as the Star Killer that was in Force Unleashed and is in Luke's actual his old name before they changed it. But the thing about that ship, it could literally like destroy the galaxy and destroy stars. They got rid of it within that same comic series because it was way too powerful.
The Scion or something like that, was it? That sounds
that was something I think was
Eye of Scion. Wasn't that it?
No, not that. I'm thinking of something else. They have something. They're thinking of something else here. The ship I'm thinking about is something I was talking about. That's something completely different. What they're talking about is, I think that's from KOTOR 2, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know if I'm wrong on that.
Okay.
Let me look that up.
Robert says there's billions of dollars of untouched properties without a retcon. Yes, I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Oh, that's what they call the ship, the Eye of Scion. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's a nod to Darth Scion from KOTOR 2. Is it? I don't know. Maybe.
Says here they could run through all the Legends properties with the new Galaxy just to say I
Mhm.
haven't read any Legends. Oh, that's a good point. Like all of the stuff that was thrown out of canon could now just be reintroduced with new stories.
They're not going to. They got their own stuff they're going to do because if they bring in the canon, I mean, if they bring in Legend stuff, they have to probably pay the people who made it like 20 or 30 years ago, and
they're not going to do that.
Disney
They're not trying to turn any money over for that. So
nah, they want to make their own shit.
Anyway, that's going to be it. We're going to wrap this up, but thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight for this live stream review of Ahsoka this week. If you enjoyed this, let us know in the comments on the video after it goes up. So go down below and say, hey, we like this. We want you guys to do it live every time. Or if you don't care, that's fine too. Anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be live again tomorrow with a special live stream. I don't know what time yet, but make sure you've got notifications turned on. So I'll see everyone then. Thank you so much, Omega, for being here with us. And we will see everyone next time, everybody. Have a great night wherever you are and talk to you later. Bye.